Hi everybody. Yes, at last. I'm finally making some new videos. Obviously I had quite a good run in February and then all through March and most of April so far. Nothing. So yeah, I apologize for the long delay. I was hoping to get into kind of a rhythm of, keeping the videos regular. But unfortunately life doesn't always let you do things exactly the way you want. Part of the reason I had so much time on my hands at the beginning of this year and towards the very end of last year during the holidays was because my previous job was working at AOL. And yes, I mean that AOL. At the Dulles, Virginia campus. Now, it was definitely a cool job. Enjoyed it a lot. I was there almost 5 years. But, as most of the people I know who've previously worked at AOL are familiar with, when you work at AOL, layoffs are pretty much a fact of life, and like I said, everybody I know has experienced it. Now it was my turn. So it was definitely challenging to keep myself sane for those 3 months, but obviously making these videos really helped. And I got a lot of creative ideas completed, so that was really nice. But of course, at some point, it becomes kind of imperative to get out of the house and do something productive. So, not to mention, not exactly being wealthy enough to live for a long period of time with no job. So, I eventually did find new work, and I started my new job about a month ago. It's really nice. About the only thing I don't like about, well, I wouldn't say I completely don't like about it, but it certainly has its days where it's a bit rough, is the commute. I have one again. So yeah, I drive to Tysons, Virginia, and that definitely means traffic most days. So, but the job is pretty awesome, and mostly working with non-profit organizations now. So that also brings quite a bit more job satisfaction than working at AOL. So, but I did enjoy it. I had a really great group. So yeah. Anyway, I'm finally taking some time tonight to show you some new models that I have. And this one right here, this has been on my wish list for my collection for a long time. This is the 1972 John Player Special Lotus from the Formula One season. And this particular model, as you can see with the colors of this helmet, this is Emerson Fittipaldi, who is a multiple world champion and also just really cool guy. Every time I see interviews with him, he seems like he would be a really awesome dude to know, Fierce competitor, but just such a good human being. So, this black and gold livery is, to me, one of the most beautiful designs that has ever been in F1. And I think it was last year in the F1 season, the Lotuses were black and gold again. Of course, now they're not Lotus anymore. They're back to being Renault, so they're yellow, which is pretty cool in a way. Kind of follows the progression of what colors these cars were in the 80s. Went from being black and gold like this around 1985 to being yellow. Actually, I think that might have been the camo colors, but anyway. This is just a really cool car. I like this era with the big, tall air boxes on top of the engines. And the sound of this car is amazing. Has a Ford V8 in it, right back here. And if you are a fan of Top Gear, which I know is a touchy subject now because of all of the fallout with the BBC, but during the time when Top Gear was still doing well on that station, I forget which season it was, where they went on a Spanish vacation to the Ascari circuit. And they brought this car out and did, some footage in it, and it's just such a cool looking car. It sounds so awesome. And of course, this black and gold livery is amazing. So I just saw that car and it looked cool from every angle. And I just was like, man, I need a model of that. So here it is. This is also a new brand name to me. I've never bought any models from Quartzo before. And at first I wasn't sure what the quality was going to be like, because they're not terribly expensive. Found this on Amazon for probably about, I don't know, I want to say it was around $40 or something. So I was a little concerned what the quality of the model was going to be like, but it's no worries for sure. Most of it's metal, some plastic, but certainly no shortage of detail, as you can see, with the engine block back here and all of the suspension components. The brakes are in here, the wheels look nice, they roll pretty nicely, and all of the other little details. I mean, when you pick this thing up in your hand, it feels quite chunky. The tub, the monocoque, which is this section here, is all solid, heavy metal, so it feels very weighty, which is very satisfying. Probably some of this back here is plastic, these little pieces, so do be careful, don't grab it. The suspension arms, these are all plastic. You want to be very careful handling the model back here. In fact, if you can avoid touching it back here, you should. This rear wing is also metal, and as you can see, it's got all these cool logos on it. Yeah, but mostly just this black and gold for John Player Special. And obviously, I'm certainly on the fence when it comes to tobacco sponsorship. I mean, I certainly don't smoke, but I'm not really sure whether, if a company has the money to sponsor racing, which is such an expensive endeavor. I don't know. The part of me that likes the danger and excitement of racing and kind of the nostalgia, I guess, misses the days when, racing cars were covered in sponsorship from tobacco companies and oil companies, basically. Oh well. But yeah, the other half of me that loves my lungs and my health certainly doesn't miss the days when, if you were lucky enough to go to a restaurant that had a smoking section, you might actually be able to find a non-smoking section and be able to enjoy your meal without smelling it. Of course, that's unheard of today, I mean, even bars don't let you smoke sometimes now, which is pretty funny. Probably not funny to people who smoke, but anyway, yeah. The big joke from back in the day when it comes to racing is, smoking was nothing. I mean, most drivers, if you couldn't drive with a hangover, then you weren't much of a man as far as being a racing driver is concerned. And certainly, you do have to wonder, with how dangerous these cars could be if you did crash. It's a double-edged sword, you party it up the night before a race because you don't know if you'll survive it, but maybe, if you weren't partying, you wouldn't have made a mistake that caused you to crash in the first place, so who knows? You could look at it both ways. But the one thing I do want to mention about these cars, those of us who play racing games, a lot of people assume that these types of cars are super difficult to drive, and that they have handling characteristics, a mind of their own and so forth, and certainly some of them did. Back in these sort of days, 70s and whatnot, there certainly were cars that had their own characteristics, and you'd have drivers that would just complain that the car had a mind of its own and it was hard to predict what the thing was going to do. But on the whole, especially with this car in particular, this is one of the types of cars that's been developed to be in games like Assetto Corsa or certainly Project Cars. And one of the developer drivers was Ben Collins, as in the former Stig, who drove this car in that episode of Top Gear. And one thing he consistently noted in his feedback was that these cars are not difficult to drive in that way. They're very predictable, it's easy to sense where the limits are. It's easy to keep them on the limit and to recover them when they go over the limit. So the thought that they should just be needlessly difficult to drive because it's in a racing game is just ludicrous. And so every bit of his feedback about how the development of the car was progressing had to do with not only being realistic, but the idea that making it more difficult doesn't make it more realistic. So, okay, I'm starting to ramble here. But I honestly don't have a lot of knowledge about this car's specific performance other than the fact that I do believe that Fittipaldi was the champion in 1972. But as far as like those old Brunswick F1 season reviews, the earliest one I have is 1973, which is the year Jackie Stewart won his final championship. I also have the model of his car from that season. But yeah, I haven't gotten back to the earliest seasons of the 70s yet, so one day maybe I'll get caught up with that, and maybe I can make another video that talks about more specifics on rivalries and whatnot. But like I said, I'm very happy that I bought this, and I'm certainly going to buy more models from Quartzo. I think there's another Lotus that they make which has the gold leaf livery, which is quite a different color scheme than this black and gold, but yeah, certainly would be cool to have. And actually, if you're interested in those racing DVDs, old F1 and stuff, the Brunswick season reviews are on Amazon and are now a lot cheaper than they were, even 5 years ago, let's say. Come down in price considerably. So now's a good time to grab those. These cute little wheel nuts. I love how many cars in the 60s and 70s had these little triple winged nuts on the wheels. The Ford GT40 also has these, or something similar. Of course, you can still see the wheel spokes back here. The other thing I miss about these earlier F1 cars is just the huge rear wheels. The tires back here were just enormous compared to the front. So aerodynamics were still somewhat new-ish. So mechanical grip was really important. And the cars certainly slid around a lot, but you also have a lot of tire grip to work with, so that makes it really exciting. So I love how this engine just doesn't even have a cover. It's just bolted to the back of the monocoque, and it's just sitting out here in the open like this. That's pretty amazing. So let's take a look at the back with the 1 minute I have left. There you go. Alright. It's just a beautiful car. I really, really like this car. So, alright, well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. I do hope to keep up with all of the requests I've been getting, and if I haven't made a video that I told you I'm going to, just keep in mind that I haven't forgotten, and I'm going to keep trying to get through all of the requests that I still have in my inbox. So, especially the one where I get to show you my real car, but that one's going to be a tough project to get right, so I just want to make sure I do it right the first time. But anyway, yeah, just keep watching. I'm going to keep going as much as I can. So anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.